In the high-stakes game of global technology, the hunter just loosened the noose around its prey's neck. But here's the question you should be asking before you celebrate. Is it an act of mercy, or is it to make sure the real trap snaps shut perfectly? Stay with me to the end, because what looks like a victory for China in the chip war might just be the opening move in a far more dangerous game. Just recently, the news dropped like a bombshell in the semiconductor world. After just 2 months of strangulation, the United States abruptly reversed its ban on exporting critical EDA software to China. On the surface, this looks like a win, a reason to pop the champagne, right? But if you peel back the layers, the smell is complicated. More complicated than a spy novel written in ancient code. We need to dissect this whole bloody affair, piece by piece, to understand the raw truth of this silicon blood feud. First, for those not in the know, what in God's name is EDA software? Imagine it as the Gandalf staff and the enchanted quill for every chip designer. It's the magic that turns a brilliant idea, say a blazing fast AI chip, into a flawless, microscopic blueprint ready for the factory. We're talking about a process with hundreds of steps. Defining functions, writing code, running simulations, physical layouts, error checking. Trying to do this by hand, you'd have better luck trying to build a rocket with duct tape and prayers. EDA is the hyper-intelligent automated assembly line that saves designers from drowning in an ocean of complexity. Just how critical is it? Using industry-standard EDA tools can slash the probability of a chip failing its first test production, what we call tape-out, by a solid 15%. Now, 15% might not sound like much, but you have no idea how much money is on the table. Building intensity, typing out a single top-tier chip for a flagship smartphone or a massive AI server at a foundry like TSMC or Samsung starts at tens of millions of dollars, and soaring past 100 million is not uncommon. Picture this. The price of a fleet of Bugattis turning into a puff of smoke because of one tiny flaw. So yes, calling EDA the mother of all chips is no exaggeration. It literally determines if a chip gets born and whether it's born a dragon or a dud. It's like if 80% of the bricks for your new house had to come from a single supplier. And one day, that supplier just says, nope. Not for you. Do you still get to build your house? That's exactly what the U.S. Department of Commerce did this past May. With a stroke of a pen, high-end EDA was cut off. The reaction in China's chip design community was pandemonium, a 5-alarm fire, projects delayed, costs skyrocketing, efficiency tanked, a miniature disaster movie playing out in real time. So when the news broke last Thursday that the Commerce Department had told these giants to lift the restrictions, the internet exploded. Chinese chip companies reacted faster than shoppers on Black Friday. I heard one company went all in, buying a full 3-year software license on the spot, a classic grain in the hand, no panic in the heart maneuver. It was a sigh of relief, sure, but it was also the raw, visceral scar tissue of being choked, a testament to the psychological trauma of the blockade. So the billion-dollar question, why the sudden act of kindness from America? A pang of conscience? A moment of enlightenment? Oh, please, don't be naive. The most likely scenario is that Uncle Sam played a little too hard and found out the sanctions were a 7 wounds fist, a self-wounding blow. You punch your enemy, but you break a few of your own knuckles in the process. That big, fat piece of meat called the Chinese market, the American EDA giants were making a fortune from it. Cutting that off meant ugly financial reports, screaming shareholders, and nervous boardrooms.
Capitalists want profit, not the vague, abstract, strategic anxieties of politicians. But more importantly, the Americans likely sniffed the air and realized their little EDA trick wasn't going to be a fatal blow to China's AI and chip ambitions. Think about it. Look at the relentless siege the US has laid on China's chip sector since 2018. Entity lists, tech controls. At one point, even NVIDIA's own Jensen Huang could only stare at the Chinese market, holding his top-of-the-line A100 and H100 GPUs, unable to sell a single one. Even the nerfed made-for-China H20 version got blocked. The losses for NVIDIA were astronomical, but the result was that China's AI ambition was crushed? Not even close. Not enough computing power? They found a workaround, renting cloud services from American companies to train their AI models. How's that for clever? Block the algorithms? The US wanted to ban open-source AI models, but that's like trying to ban the wind. The outcome was that China's AI technology kept nipping at America's heels. And when China's own DC-21 large model appeared earlier this year, its performance shattered a lot of Western assumptions. You can just imagine the official in charge of the blockade, spitting his morning coffee all over his keyboard when he read that report. He had blockaded them into becoming a more dangerous competitor. So this hasty retreat on the EDA ban after just 2 months was likely a pragmatic calculation. The damage to the enemy was questionable, but the damage to themselves was certain. Why continue a pointless charade? Let's get back to business. But, and this is the most important word in this entire story,
do not be mesmerized by this brief moment of sunshine. Do not think for 1 second that this means freedom and a future of easy prosperity. This was a minor tactical victory, nothing more. It's as if the enemy has loosened one finger from your throat to let you catch a breath. The stranglehold is still very much in place. Why do I say this? There's a famous, perhaps apocryphal story that circulates on the internet. Why did Microsoft, for decades, turn a blind eye to the rampant piracy of Windows in China? The conspiratorial view calls it Bill Gates' overt plot. Let them have this powerful tool for free. Let them get used to it, dependent on it. Who would then bother with the Herculean effort of building a domestic operating system? The cheapest things often carry the highest price, and that price is the quiet erosion of your will to build for yourself. This EDA reversal could be the exact same playbook. On the surface, it's a concession. Underneath, it could be the old boiling the frog slowly script. The giant software is back, it's easy, it works. Will Chinese companies now retreat to their comfort zones, slowing down the brutal, expensive work of developing their own EDA tools? If so, America's move wasn't a retreat, it was a trap. More importantly, the real kill switch is still held firmly in American hands. Chip manufacturing. They've unbanned the design tools, yes, but the machines that make the chips and the factories that run those machines, the ban is stronger than ever. The US Foreign Direct Product Rule is a legal iron collar around the necks of TSMC and Samsung. So even if a Chinese company designs the world's most brilliant 3-nanometer chip blueprint, if they want to get it made, they have to ask Daddy America for an export license. Without a factory, that brilliant blueprint is just a very, very expensive piece of digital paper. And what about China's own champion, SMIC? It's hitting a massive technological wall trying to get to 7-nanometer and beyond. Why? Because the single most important piece of equipment in modern civilization, the extreme ultraviolet or EUV lithography machine from the Dutch company ASML, is absolutely unequivocally forbidden territory thanks to US coordination. This leaves brilliant design houses like Huawei's HiSilicon with all of the talent in the world, but nowhere to build their finest creations. They have the skill, but their hands are tied. The frustration is immense. So what now? Lie down and admit defeat? Not a chance. History has already shown us the answer. Rewind to the late 18th century. The global hegemon was the British Empire, and its textile industry was the world's undisputed king. To protect its throne, Britain strictly forbade the export of any textile machinery blueprints or even skilled craftsmen. It's the exact same playbook. But then a man who would become known as the father of the American Industrial Revolution, Samuel Slater, a British mill worker, slipped away. He didn't steal blueprints. He carried them in his head. He emigrated to America and from memory, replicated the British technology. That single spark ignited a fire. By the 1830s, America's textile industry was going toe-to-toe with its former master. By 1842, Britain saw the writing on the wall. The blockade was pointless. They lifted it completely. History teaches us that a technological blockade, while painful in the short term, can act as a massive shot of adrenaline for the blockaded party. It forces self-reliance. It forces you to learn how to shatter your own shackles. America's concession on EDA might be a sign they see this historical pattern repeating. They know that pressing too hard will only accelerate China's independence. But remember this, they will only truly let go when China has mastered the core of the core, the money printing machines themselves, like lithography. Until that day, any reprieve is just a tactical pause, not a strategic victory. So what is the most critical task for China right now? It's to stop hoping for mercy and start learning how the true giants of this industry play the game. In the world of semiconductors, going it alone is a death sentence. The ecosystem is everything. Materials, equipment, design, manufacturing, testing, packaging, every link in the chain is indispensable. This isn't a game for one or two genius companies. It is the ultimate contest of a nation's entire industrial ecosystem. Look at the playbook of winners. In the 1980s, when Japan was dominating the semiconductor world, what did America do? The government orchestrated Semitech, a consortium of 14 titans including Intel and IBM. But they didn't just bring in chip makers, they brought in the equipment and material suppliers, universities, and research labs. They built a collaborative web that ultimately allowed them to reclaim the throne. That is the power of an ecosystem. Look at ASML, the lithography king. It's not one company, it's a super orchestra of nearly 5,000 global suppliers. Look at TSMC, the foundry king. Its magic is its deep integration with over 100 ecosystem partners, sharing risks and rewards. Look at NVIDIA, the AI king. Its CUDA software platform is a universe connecting over 5 million developers. Do you see the pattern? The true titans are not just players, they are weavers of ecosystems. A single breakthrough is just a point. What China needs is to connect those points into an unbreakable plane, a complete, competitive domestic chip ecosystem. The opportunity is here, right now. The explosion in AI, electric vehicles, and robotics creates a tidal wave of demand for chips. And critically, many of these applications don't require the absolute cutting-edge 3-nanometer process. This gives China a precious window to iterate, to learn, and to master mature processes, building a robust ecosystem from the ground up that can then fuel the assault on the highest peaks. So yes, this small EDA victory is worth a toast. But after the drink is finished, the sleeves must be rolled up again. Seize this window. Use the tools you have to run faster, but maintain absolute clarity. Never relax the assault on the core challenges, domestic EDA, and especially the manufacturing heartlands of lithography, materials, and process technology. The strategy must shift from cultivating a few star pupils
to building and commanding an entire industrial army. Only when China's own semiconductor ecosystem is lush, deep-rooted, and self-sustaining can it truly stand fearless in any storm and hold its destiny firmly in its own hands. This war will be long. The path is covered in thorns. But when it comes to this fight, there is no alternative to victory. The empire smiles, a blueprint in hand, a hidden blade, a luck on foreign land. 2 months the ban, then hastily withdrawn, not out of kindness, but a fear of dawn. For genius finds its way through cloud and fire. A newborn titan foils the grand desire. Remember how the gifted child was bound, lest in warm waters a new strength be found. The forge of gods remains a distant wall. So forge your own damn hammer, break it all. That's all for this episode. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.